Imagine this. Since childhood, they slept in the same bedroom, played football in the same backyard, wore the same club jersey, and dreamed of lifting the same trophy. But when the 2026 World Cup begins, they find themselves standing on opposite sides of the pitch, not because they are enemies, but because they have chosen to represent different nations. At the biggest football tournament on the planet, blood ties no longer define them. What matters now are the colors of their jerseys and the pride of the countries they represent. The 2026 World Cup is bringing an incredibly rare story. For the first time in modern football history, there are 4 pairs of siblings representing different nations in the same World Cup. This phenomenon has emerged because more and more diaspora players are eligible to play for multiple countries. Some choose the nation where they were born, while others choose the homeland of their ancestors. As a result, the football world could witness brothers facing each other on the sport's biggest stage. In fact, one pair has already given fans a preview of the drama after the older brother helped defeat the country represented by his younger sibling just days before the World Cup. So in today's video, we're going to discuss 5 sibling stories that could see brothers competing against one another at the 2026 World Cup. Let's get started. Désiré Doué versus Guélé Doué, France versus Ivory Coast. Désiré Doué may currently be enjoying life as one of France's brightest young talents. However, behind the spotlight stands someone who knew him long before the football world did, his older brother, Guélé Doué. Both were born in France and raised in a family of Ivorian heritage. When the time came to choose their national teams, however, their paths diverged. Désiré chose France, the country where he was born and developed as a player. Guélé chose Ivory Coast, the homeland of their father. Their decision has turned them into one of the most fascinating stories heading into the 2026 World Cup. FIFA has even highlighted their journey as an example of how family identity and football can sometimes move in different directions. What makes the story even more intriguing is what happened just days before the tournament. In an international friendly, Ivory Coast stunned France with a 2-1 victory. Guélé Doué played a crucial role in the win by scoring the equalizer before Amad Diallo netted the winning goal. The result shocked many observers because France is considered one of the favorites to win the World Cup. Now, fans are beginning to imagine an even more dramatic scenario. If both nations advance deep into the tournament, it is entirely possible that these two brothers could find themselves facing one another in a high-stakes knockout match at the 2026 World Cup. Iñaki Williams versus Nico Williams, Ghana versus Spain. No sibling pair at the 2026 World Cup is more famous than the Williams brothers. Iñaki Williams and Nico Williams grew up together in Bilbao, played together for Athletic Bilbao, and became symbols of a successful Ghanaian immigrant family in Spain. Yet when it came to international football, they made different choices. Iñaki chose Ghana, the homeland of his parents. Nico chose Spain, the country where he was born and raised. Their decisions have turned them into one of the most recognizable symbols of modern diaspora football. Their story proves that a player's identity is not always defined solely by birthplace or family heritage. In terms of footballing success, Nico currently receives greater attention as a key member of Spain's new golden generation. He is expected to be one of La Roja's most important players throughout the tournament. On the other hand, Iñaki remains an experienced leader for Ghana, bringing maturity and leadership to the squad. Interestingly, if Ghana emerges as a dark horse and Spain progresses as expected, the brothers could potentially meet in the knockout rounds. Imagine Nico having to dribble past his own brother to keep Spain's dream alive, or Iñaki becoming the man who ends his younger brother's World Cup journey. These are the kinds of stories that make the World Cup a drama that no Hollywood scriptwriter could ever create. Derek Lucassen versus Brian Brobby, Ghana versus the Netherlands. The next pair may not be as famous as the Williams brothers, but their story is just as fascinating. Derek Lucassen and Brian Brobby are half-brothers who both have strong connections to Ghana and the Netherlands. They grew up within Dutch football culture, yet their international careers took different directions. Lucassen chose to represent Ghana, while Brobby decided to play for the Netherlands. Their decisions placed them among the growing number of siblings competing under different flags at the World Cup. This trend has become increasingly common as African nations continue to strengthen strengthen their squads through talented diaspora players developed in Europe. When it comes to tournament expectations, the Netherlands is clearly considered more likely to make a deep run. However, Ghana has a long history of producing surprises on the world stage. If both teams progress from their groups and eventually meet in the knockout rounds, football fans could witness an emotional clash between two half-brothers representing different dreams. What makes their story unique is how different their football journeys have been. Brobbey developed into a well-known striker in European football, while Lucassen followed a different path before becoming part of Ghana's national team. Two different journeys, two different decisions, yet both originate from the same family roots. Harry Souttar versus John Souttar, Australia versus Scotland. While the other sibling pairs have stories rooted in Africa and Europe, the Souttar family offers something different. Harry Souttar chose to represent Australia, while his older brother John Souttar represents Scotland. Both were born into a family with strong ties to the two nations. Harry embraced his Australian heritage and developed into one of the most important defenders for the Socceroos. Meanwhile, John remained committed to Scotland and became one of the country's most reliable defensive players. Their different choices have taken them down separate international paths, despite growing up under the same roof. Interestingly, both brothers play in the same position as central defenders. That means if Australia and Scotland were ever to meet in the knockout stages, their battle would be about much more than family pride. They would be competing as two players with almost identical responsibilities on the pitch. Both are known for their aerial dominance, aggressive defending, and leadership qualities. Although the chances of them meeting may be smaller than some of the other sibling pairs, the Souttar story remains another example of how modern football has erased traditional geographical boundaries. Within one family, two World Cup players can emerge and represent two different continents. Why is this phenomenon becoming more common? The final point is not about one specific pair of siblings, but rather about why stories like these are becoming increasingly common. Over the past few decades, global migration has transformed international football. Many families moved from Africa, Asia, and South America to Europe in search of new opportunities. Their children were born in new countries while maintaining strong emotional and cultural connections to their family's homeland. As these children grew into professional footballers, FIFA regulations allowed many of them to choose between multiple national teams. As a result, siblings raised in the same household can ultimately make very different decisions regarding their football identity. This phenomenon has already produced some of the most memorable stories in World Cup history. One of the most famous examples involved Jerome Boateng, who represented Germany, and Kevin Prince Boateng, who represented Ghana. The two brothers famously faced each other at both the 2010 and 2014 World Cups. Now, the 2026 World Cup could deliver even more stories of this kind. With the expanded 40-18 format and a longer knockout stage, the chances of sibling showdowns have increased significantly. It is entirely possible that one of the most emotional matches of the tournament will not be the final itself, but a game in which an older brother must crush his younger sibling's dream, or vice versa. The World Cup has always been about rivalries between nations, but the 2026 edition adds something even more personal. Behind the flags, national anthems, and millions of supporters filling the stadiums, there are family stories that could shape the course of the tournament. From the Doué family to the Williams brothers, the Lucassen-Brobbey family, and the Souttar brothers, all of them demonstrate how modern football has become a truly global sport, one that can unite and divide at the very same time. And if one day we really do witness France facing Ivory Coast, or Spain taking on Ghana in the knockout rounds, those matches will be about far more than qualification. They will be stories of brothers chasing the same dream, but being forced to defeat one another to achieve it. There may only be one winner on the scoreboard, but for their families, those moments will become memories that last a lifetime. So what do you think? Which sibling pair is most likely to actually face each other at the 2026 World Cup? Will Gela Doué once again get the better of his younger brother Desiree if France meets Ivory Coast? Or will the Williams brothers create the most iconic family showdown of the entire tournament? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more unique stories, fascinating analysis, and unforgettable moments from the 2026 World Cup.